There comes a moment in life when the ground beneath you feels unstable, when the walls you've built around your comfort begin to close in, and you realize with piercing clarity that something has to change. It is not just a thought, not just a whisper in the back of the mind. It is a roaring truth that shakes the core of your being. Deep inside, a voice calls out, reminding you that the person you are right now is not the person who will carry you to the life you desire. That identity, the one shaped by years of conditioning, fear, hesitation, and compromise, can only take you so far. And the truth is, it has already taken you as far as it can. The life that waits for you, greater achievements, deeper fulfillment, unshakable confidence, belongs to someone else. Someone stronger, bolder, more certain, and more alive. Someone you have not yet fully become. The bridge between where you are and where you want to be is not built on external circumstances, not on luck, not on chance. It is built on one thing, your state. The energy, the certainty, the identity you bring into every single moment. Think of it. Every breakthrough in history, every great leap forward for humanity, every extraordinary story of transformation was not born from someone waiting passively for life to hand them an opportunity. It was born from someone who decided to step into a state of power before there was evidence, before there were guarantees, before anyone believed it was possible. Their state became their weapon. Their identity became their foundation, and the world had no choice but to respond. But here lies the harsh reality: most people never get there. They wait for permission to rise. They wait for certainty to come from outside circumstances. They wait for confidence to magically appear after success, rather than generating it first to create success. They live as victims of their state, not masters of it. When fear shows up, they shrink. When doubt creeps in, they stop. When life tests them, they collapse into the identity they've always known, never realizing they could have chosen something greater. The truth is unforgiving, but it is liberating. The life you crave will not reveal itself to the identity you carry right now. That identity is tied to your history, your habits, and your limitations. It is rooted in the version of you that has survived, but not the version of you that is destined to thrive. To step into the life that has been waiting, you must shift. You must take command of your state. You must declare with unshakable certainty that from this moment forward, you no longer live as the same person. And this shift is not small. It is not cosmetic. It's not about minor tweaks or adjustments. It is about radical ownership of who you are becoming. It is about shedding the old skin, the old labels, the old stories that have defined you for too long, and stepping into a state so powerful that the world itself bends around your new identity. Imagine what happens when you refuse to live in the state of hesitation that once ruled you. Imagine what changes when you no longer identify as the one who doubts, but as the one who decides. Imagine the power of walking into every situation, not waiting for certainty, but bringing certainty with you. That is what mastering your state creates. It creates a presence that cannot be ignored, a conviction that cannot be shaken, and a momentum that cannot be stopped. But the shift must begin with a decision to stop tolerating the patterns that keep you small, a decision to reject the idea that who you've been is who you must remain, a decision to no longer give away power to circumstance, to failure, to fear. Because the moment you decide to master your state, you rise above the noise. You silence the doubts. You silence the hesitation. You silence the false identity that has chained you to mediocrity. This is the turning point. This is the edge of transformation. And once you cross it, there is no going back. You cannot unknow the truth that your identity shapes your destiny, that your state creates your reality. You cannot unsee the power that was always in your hands. The old self may resist. It may fight to stay alive, but the fire inside you is stronger. And once it ignites, there is no force in this world that can extinguish it. The question is simple: will you stay the same, or will you rise into the identity that creates everything you've ever desired? Will you remain trapped in the state that has kept you limited, or will you step into the state that unleashes your limitless potential? The moment to decide is now. Your state is the silent force that decides the quality of every moment of your life. It is the invisible current running through your mind, shaping your emotions, influencing your decisions, and ultimately carving the path of your destiny. Most people think it is circumstances that control their lives. They point to what happened in their past, to what others did to them, to the opportunities they never received. But beneath all those stories lies the real truth. It is not circumstance that determines destiny. It is state. In a weak state, the most brilliant mind becomes paralyzed. Ideas are there, opportunities are there, but hesitation clouds them. Fear drowns them out. In a powerful state, even the most uncertain path becomes clear. Action feels natural. Confidence is no longer something to reach for. It flows effortlessly. The same person with the same skills, with the same resources, can live in two completely different realities, all determined by the state they choose to live in. Think of a time when energy was low, when the body felt drained and the mind was fogged with doubt. In that state, the smallest obstacle feels insurmountable. Even simple tasks become heavy, overwhelming, almost impossible. Now contrast that with a time when energy surged, when focus was sharp and certainty radiated through every cell. In that state, obstacles shrink. Problems transform into challenges, and challenges become opportunities. The world feels like it bends in your favor. The external world may not have changed at all, but your state did. And that state shifted the way you perceived, acted, and created. This is why mastery of state is the foundation of mastery of life. Without it, the external world controls you. With it, You control the external world, yet most people live as prisoners of their state. They let emotions control them like waves tossing a ship in a storm. They rise when things go well. They crash when things fall apart. They live as reactors, not creators, waiting for permission from circumstances to feel powerful, certain, alive. But here is the reality. Your state is not random. It is not something life assigns to you at will. It is something you create consciously or unconsciously every single moment. Through your body, your focus, and your language, you are generating a state right now. And that state is generating the quality of this very moment of your life. If the state is weak, you see problems. If the state is powerful, you see solutions. If the state is fearful, you hesitate. If the state is courageous, you act. The greatest trap is believing that emotions are facts. That because you feel powerless, you are powerless. That because fear rises, you must obey it. That because doubt whispers, it must be true. No. Emotions are signals, not destiny. They are reflections of the state you've chosen to live in, consciously or not. And the moment you decide to take command of that state, you reclaim your power. History has shown this again and again. Leaders, innovators, and visionaries did not wait for the perfect external conditions before stepping forward. They entered a state of certainty before anyone else believed. They declared who they were and what they would achieve even when failure seemed inevitable. Their state created the path. Their state inspired others. Their state shifted the trajectory of their lives and often the world itself. And you hold that same power. It is not reserved for the extraordinary. It is not something rare or unreachable. It is within you now. The only difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is this: the ones who rise know how to take control of their state. They no longer wait for life to give them reasons to feel powerful. They generate that power within. Think of what becomes possible when you live each day in a state of certainty, strength, and clarity. How different would your decisions be? How much faster would you move? How much greater would your results become? And more importantly, how much of your life would shift when others around you begin to feel that energy radiating from you? When the world begins to respond to your power instead of ignoring your hesitation, the world does not respond to weakness. It does not respond to doubt. It does not respond to hesitation. The world bends to those who bring a state of absolute certainty, who live in power regardless of what is happening around them. That is the force you must learn to master. That is the level at which your life transforms. The moment you stop letting your environment dictate your state, you become unstoppable. The moment you declare that no event, no failure, no rejection, no setback has the power to shake your identity or weaken your energy, you cross the threshold. And once you cross it, you will never live the same way again. Your state is your weapon. It is your foundation. It is the force that determines whether you create a life of mediocrity or a life of greatness. And the choice to master it begins now. Identity is the invisible hand guiding every decision, every action, and every result in life. It is the unseen governor of destiny, setting the limits on what is possible, what is acceptable, and what is real. No matter how much knowledge is gained, no matter how many opportunities appear, life will always shrink back to match the identity that has been accepted. The truth is simple, yet confronting you will never rise above the beliefs you hold about who you are. If the identity is fragile, achievements collapse. If the identity is small, dreams are suffocated. If the identity is rooted in doubt, every step forward is sabotaged before momentum can take hold. The most dangerous prison in the world is not made of bars or chains. It is made of self-concept. And the walls of that prison are built with the stories repeated over and over. I am not enough. I am not ready. I am not the kind of person who can do this. These words may never be spoken out loud, but they are etched into the subconscious, shaping every move. But here's the liberating truth. Identity is not permanent. It is not a sentence handed down at birth. It is not a rigid law of existence. Identity is fluid. It can evolve. It can expand. It can be shattered and rebuilt into something infinitely stronger. The shift begins the moment you stop seeing yourself as the sum of your past and start declaring yourself as the creator of your future. Most people believe they must achieve success before adopting the identity of success. They think they must wait for proof before permission, results before belief. But this is the great lie that keeps them trapped. The sequence is reversed. Identity must shift first. The self you choose to embody becomes the compass that directs every action, and those actions eventually create the evidence that aligns with it. Success is not about changing what you do. It is about changing who you are. When the identity shifts, everything changes. Actions that once felt impossible become natural. Habits that once felt forced become effortless. The confidence no longer has to be built. It flows. This is why someone can attempt the same goal over and over, fail repeatedly, and finally succeed. Not because the goal changed, not because the world suddenly opened up, but because the person changed. They no longer acted from the old identity of weakness. They acted from the new identity of power. This is the essence of transformation. It is not found in strategies alone. It is not found in waiting for the right time. Transformation begins when you declare with full conviction that you are no longer who you were yesterday, that the labels others placed on you no longer define you, that the failures of your past no longer shape your future, that the doubts that haunted you no longer own you. And this declaration is not empty. It must be felt with every fiber of your being, because identity is not words. It is embodiment. It is standing tall when fear screams. It is moving forward when doubt whispers. It is showing up in the world as the person you have decided to become long before the evidence is there. And with every action, every choice, every moment of courage, the old identity dissolves and the new one hardens into reality. But this shift requires courage because the old self does not die quietly. It clings, it fights, it whispers lies of comfort, safety, and familiarity. It tries to convince you that change is dangerous, that stepping forward is risky, that staying the same is easier. And it is easier for a while. But eventually the weight of an unclaimed identity becomes unbearable. The pain of living below potential becomes louder than the fear of change. And that pain is the signal, the fire, the force that drives transformation. To shift identity is to rewrite the story, to stop asking, who am I to do this? And begin asking, who am I not to? To stop shrinking into the shadows and start standing in the light of your true power. To stop living as the echo of the past and start living as the author of the future. This is why identity is everything. It is the root, the foundation, the beginning and the end. Until the identity shifts, actions will remain inconsistent, results will remain fleeting, and breakthroughs will always slip away. But once the identity shifts, momentum becomes unstoppable. Every action builds upon itself. Every decision aligns with the vision. Every challenge becomes fuel, and life itself begins to expand to match a new self that has been born. The question is not whether the shift is possible. The question is whether it will be claimed, whether the old self will be released, whether the fear of change will be overcome by the hunger for transformation. Because once identity shifts, there's no going back. The past self dissolves, and a new destiny takes root, and that destiny is waiting right now. There is a force in your hands right now, simple, immediate, and life-altering. A force so powerful that it can change the way you feel in seconds, alter the course of your actions, and reshape the story of your life. It is not hidden. It is not complicated. It does not require years of waiting or endless preparation. It is a tool that belongs to you already, one that the greatest achievers and leaders have mastered whether they realized it or not. The conscious control of physiology, focus, and language. These three forces are the levers of your state. They are the handles by which you seize control of your emotions, your mind, and your destiny. The first is physiology. The body is the gateway to the mind. Every emotion you feel is anchored in the way you move, breathe, and hold yourself. When the body collapses, when breathing is shallow, when shoulders slump and head lowers, the message to the brain is weakness. The mind follows the body's command and suddenly doubt and hesitates. But the moment the body shifts, breath deepens, chest expands, shoulders rise, movement becomes purposeful, everything changes. Strength flows back in, certainty rises. The brain interprets the body's language and obeys it. Power is not something you wait to feel. It is something you create by commanding your physiology. The second force is focus. Where attention goes, energy flows. Focus is the lens through which life is filtered. Most people live with their focus trapped on problems, fears, and limitations. They magnify what is missing, what is broken, what could go wrong, and then wonder why they feel powerless. But focus is a choice. In the same moment, two people can face the same situation and live two entirely different realities. One consumed by fear, the other fueled by possibility, simply because of what they choose to focus on. Change your focus, and you change your state. Magnify the opportunity instead of the obstacle, and your mind begins to find solutions. Place your attention on gratitude instead of lack, and your energy shifts from despair to strength. Focus is the steering wheel of your destiny, and the direction you choose will determine the quality of every step forward. The third force is language. Words shape reality. The language used with others, and especially with oneself, creates identity. Every phrase repeated, every description of self, every silent sentence spoken in the mind carves the blueprint of who you believe you are. When words are weak, I can't, I'm not enough, the identity shrinks, the body weakens, the state collapses. But when words are strong, I will, I must, I am becoming, the identity expands, the body rises, the state ignites. Language is not just communication, it is creation. Speak with weakness and you will live weak. Speak with power and power will live in you. These three forces, physiology, focus, and language, are always working. The only question is whether they are working for you or against you. Most people allow them to run unconsciously, dictated by habit, environment, or past conditioning. They slump into weak physiology without noticing. They focus on fear without question. They use disempowering language without awareness. And as a result, their state is sabotaged before they even take a step. But mastery begins when these forces are brought under conscious command, when the body is chosen deliberately, when focus is directed with intention, when language is spoken with precision and power. This tool is not theory. It is not abstract. It is immediate. At any moment, it can be activated. Right now, with a single decision to focus differently, a single change of words, your state transforms. And when the state transforms, actions transform. And when actions transform, life transforms. The tragedy is not that people lack the power to change. The tragedy is that they have the power and simply forget to use it. They wait for life to shift before they shift their state. They wait for confidence to come after success instead of generating confidence first to create success. They live as if state is a reflection of circumstance, when in truth, circumstance is a reflection of state. This is the dividing line between those who struggle endlessly and those who rise. The ones who rise do not have fewer problems. They do not have easier paths. They have mastered the tool. They know that no matter what chaos erupts outside, The power to command state remains inside. They know that no rejection, no setback, no failure has the right to dictate how they feel, how they act, or who they are. They use physiology, focus, and language like weapons, shaping their state with precision, wielding their energy with purpose, and turning obstacles into fuel. And so the question is not whether this tool works. The question is whether it will be picked up, whether you will command your body instead of collapsing into weakness, whether you will direct your focus instead of surrendering it to fear, whether you will speak words of power instead of words of doubt. Because the truth is this, your state is always being created. Either you create it with mastery or it is created by default. One leads to power, the other leads to limitation. The tool is in your hands right now. And once you learn to use it, life will never look the same. Limits, the word itself feels heavy, like chains clamped around potential, like walls closing in on a soul designed for expansion. Every person alive has felt them. The invisible barriers that whisper, you can't go further. This is as far as you go. Stay where it's safe. But those limits are not truth. They are illusions. They are constructs of an old identity, stories reinforced by fear, past failures, and the conditioning of a world that tells you to settle. The reality is this, the majority of the limits believed to be real are self-imposed. They exist not because they are unbreakable, but because they are unquestioned. Somewhere along the journey, the mind accepted them as law and the body obeyed. A child is not born thinking small. A child does not fear falling 1,000 times before walking. But as life piles on rejection, judgment, and failure, identity absorbs those scars and slowly the cage of limitation is built. Yet the truth is relentless. Those walls are paper thin. They only appear solid because they have been stared at for so long. When state is weak, limits look permanent. But when state is mastered, limits dissolve. What once looked like an unscalable mountain is revealed to be a shadow. What once felt like an immovable weight is revealed to be smoke. Breaking limits begins with one shift, refusing to believe the story that has kept you small. Every fear, every hesitation, every excuse is nothing more than a narrative you no longer have to obey. Limits are not cages built by life, they are cages built by thought, and thought can be rewritten. Consider this, every great breakthrough in history was once labeled impossible. Flying was impossible. Reaching space was impossible. Communicating instantly across continents was impossible. And yet, someone refused to accept the illusion. Someone declared that the limit was a lie. Someone stepped into a state of certainty, acted from a new identity, and shattered the boundary for everyone else. The same force that shattered those limits lives in you. The only question is whether you will claim it. When you live in a state of certainty, fear begins to wither. Fear thrives on hesitation, on a shaky identity, on a weak state. But when certainty burns bright, fear has no oxygen. Doubt crumbles. Excuses lose power. Suddenly, what felt like a wall becomes a stepping stone. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Limits are also broken by discipline. Not the rigid, cold discipline of punishment, but the fiery discipline born from identity. When identity shifts and state is mastered, discipline is not a burden. It is a natural expression of who you are. You no longer fight to force yourself into action. You act because it is aligned with the self you have chosen. And in that alignment, limits lose their grip. But perhaps the greatest illusion of limits is the belief that they are external. People say, if only I had more time, more money, yet countless individuals with less have achieved more because they refuse to let external conditions dictate internal power. The true limit is not outside, it is within. It is the belief of the old identity, the weakness of an uncontrolled state. And once that internal barrier is shattered, external barriers begin to crumble almost effortlessly. This is why mastering state is the weapon of limit breaking. When you choose a state of courage, you act in the face of fear. When you choose a state of strength, you keep moving when others give up. When you choose a state of certainty, you hold vision steady when others call it impossible. Limits do not survive long against a mind and body aligned in unstoppable energy. Breaking limits is not about eliminating obstacles. Obstacles will always exist. It is about transforming your relationship with them. To the weak identity, an obstacle is a reason to stop. To the powerful identity, it is proof of progress. To the weak state, an obstacle is overwhelming. To the mastered state, it is fuel. Obstacles do not define you. They refine you. They are the fire that tempers the steel of your character, the pressure that forms the diamond of your potential. And so the moment comes when you must decide. Do you continue living inside the illusion of limitation, chained by stories that were never yours to begin with? Or do you shatter the walls, step through the smoke, and embrace the reality that you were built to expand, built to rise, built to break every barrier in your path? There is no cage that can hold a mind that has decided to be free. There is no weight heavy enough to anchor a soul that has chosen to rise. There is no obstacle that can withstand a state of relentless certainty. The old limits may echo, they may taunt, they may try to convince you to turn back. But once you step into your power, those echoes fade into nothing. Limits are illusions, and illusions break the moment truth is claimed. The truth is simple. You are more powerful than the limits you once believed. And the time to break them is now. There comes a point where reflection must end and decision must begin. That point is not tomorrow, not next week, not someday when conditions are perfect. That point is now. Every second that passes while waiting for the right moment is another second lost to the old identity, another second surrendered to hesitation, another second given away to mediocrity. Transformation does not wait for convenience. Transformation arrives in the instant you decide. The path is clear, identity must shift, state must be mastered, and power must be claimed. The tools are not hidden. They are not reserved for a select few. They are already in your hands. The body that breathes inside you, the focus that directs your mind, the words that shape your reality. These are not small things. They are the most powerful levers of human experience. And yet too many live as if they are powerless, as if destiny is dictated by circumstance, as if greatness is reserved for someone else. But the truth refuses to be silenced. You are not powerless. You are not limited. You are not broken. You are the creator of your state, the author of your identity, the builder of your destiny. And the moment you embrace that truth, the old life begins to fall away. Do not mistake this call as motivation. Motivation fades. Motivation is a spark that dies the moment comfort calls. This is not about a spark. It is about fire. A fire that burns away the excuses, that consumes the hesitation, that forges a new self out of the ashes of the old. This is not about hype. This is about power. Real, unshakable, unstoppable power that is built when you take ownership of your state, when you claim your identity, when you step fully into the version of yourself that was waiting all along. The time has come to stop waiting for evidence, to stop asking for permission, to stop living like a victim of life. You are not here to react. You are here to create. You are not here to repeat the same cycles. You are here to break them. You are not here to shrink. You are here to expand, to rise, to conquer. And that rise begins with one choice. Decide. Decide that the old identity dies today. Decide that fear no longer commands you. Decide that hesitation no longer controls you. Decide that from this moment forward, your state belongs to you, not to circumstances, not to the past, not to doubt. Decide to embody the certainty, the strength, the relentless drive of the person you are becoming. And let that decision burn so deep into your soul that retreat is no longer an option. There is no turning back when identity shifts. There is no going back when state is mastered. Once you claim this, life changes permanently. You will walk differently. You will think differently. You will act differently. The energy you carry will radiate into everything you touch, into everyone you encounter, into every moment of your existence. The future is not something that arrives by chance. It is something that is created by decision. The one who waits, hoping, wishing, longing will die with potential unfulfilled. But the one who decides, who acts, who commands their state and shifts their identity will live fully, rise boldly, and leave a legacy that cannot be ignored. This is not about small changes. This is about transformation, not tomorrow, not later. Now, because life will not wait, opportunity will not wait, destiny will not wait, and the version you that you are meant to become is demanding to be born in this very moment. So ask, will you continue to wear the chains of the old identity, or will you rise into the power that has been waiting inside you all along? Will you continue to react to life, or will you claim the authority to create it? Will you let fear write your story, or will you tear the page and write a new one in fire and certainty? The answer cannot be delayed. The decision cannot be postponed. The call is time is now. Step forward. Take command. Shift your identity. Master your state. And unleash the unstoppable force that has been waiting, hidden, burning, alive within you. This is the beginning of your transformation.